Hello and welcome to Lecture 1 covering nutrition and metabolism. This first lecture is going to cover macronutrients, carbohydrates, lipids, and protein metabolism. If you take a look at this first slide, you'll see that carbohydrates such as starch, one of the number one carbohydrates, major energy sources on planet Earth, it can be broken down into its component monosaccharides like glucose. Keep in mind this is a polysaccharide made up of a bunch of monosaccharides, which in this case is glucose. Could be fructose and some other monosaccharides that exist like ribose. Sucrose is a disaccharide, maltose, lactose. But what you see here is no matter which carb you take in, your body can convert them into glucose, break them down to their monosaccharides, and then use them for cellular respiration to produce adenosine triphosphate. You go through glycolysis, Krebs, and etc., and you ultimately get to here. Or it can take excess, maybe that you've eaten during the day, and turn it into glycogen and store that as a fast source of energy in muscle cells and in liver cells. And you'll have to ignore the birds in the background. They tend to have fun while I'm trying to do these. Lipogenesis is something most of us don't want to happen. That's where we take our excess carbohydrates and convert them into fat. It's kind of like a rainy day fund. Your body assumes that, McDonald's and Walmart does not exist, and that your tribe may not kill a woolly mammoth tomorrow, so it stores a rainy day fund, which can be an issue in the United States where we have an excessive amount of food, and we especially overload on carbs. If we take a look at the different types of nutrients, that's just basically the things that you need to survive off of in optimal amounts. You got the macro, which we're going to be talking about here, carbs, lipids, and proteins, nucleic acids, building blocks for DNA and RNA. You have micro, vitamins, minerals, trace elements, which we'll talk about in next lectures. And essential nutrients is basically anything that you need that you cannot make metabolically through some sort of enzymatic process on your own. This is something like vitamin C for the human body. Now, many mammals have a gene that can convert other molecules into vitamin C, but we do not. So vitamin C is an essential nutrient. You have to take it in through your diet, and that's the only way you basically get it. There's quite a few essential amino acids that you have to take in through your diet. So essential just basically means something you have to consume from another organism. It's created a pretty interesting planet if you give it a little thought. I mean, everything is really after the same basic ingredients. If you go back to your basic chemistry, life is carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, and nitrogen, 96%. So we're basically all made of the same things, and as we start to run out of the building blocks that make our hemoglobin and our proteins and our carbs and the things that help us live, we have to steal building blocks from others, be it a tomato or another animal. It makes no difference. Same basic building blocks. If we take a look at our food pyramid here, if you were to flip this thing upside down, that's basically the United States. We eat white rice, white bread, potatoes, pasta, sweets. See, this says use sparingly, but this is like the major diet of the United States. If you take this and put it down here and take all this and put it up there, that's us. Especially in the South where we take all these things and hell, we fry it. So we take everything here and let's just stick it in oil and fry it. I mean, we fry Snickers bars, Twinkies. State Fair is running right now. It's October. Take off and go to the State Fair. They fry everything you could possibly imagine, which makes the nutritional value even worse. If you eat healthy with daily exercise, you can control your weight. Everyone on planet Earth can. Different people have different metabolisms, so some people have a harder time controlling it than others. Meaning you may not have been genetically blessed to be one of those people who can just eat anything they want, turn right around, walk to the car, and burn off all the calories. But even if you're not, between daily exercise and following this food pyramid, you can maintain a healthy weight and stay within your body mass index. Now, I will say one thing. Eating healthy, fresh vegetables, fresh fruit, healthy proteins like fish, grilling your chicken, things like that, it's expensive. So if you go and buy, a few pounds of fresh salmon or tilapia, it's a lot different than trying to go buy a few pounds of ground hamburger meat that's, 80%, 20%, So it's much easier to buy that big tube of hamburger meat and buy a whole bunch of hamburger helpers to feed your family than it is to buy them all nice slices of fresh salmon and tilapia, nuts. If you've ever been to Walmart and tried to buy a small package of pistachios or cashews or almonds or pecans, they get quite expensive. So eating healthy in the United States actually is far more expensive than eating this. A bag of white rice, white bread, that's cheap. Pasta, sweets, all this is cheap. Red meat's gotten a little expensive, but if we do splurge, we tend to splurge here. Well, we go buy a steak, It's like, oh, yes, let's go buy and spend an extra $30 this month and buy everybody grilled salmon or grilled tilapia. It's go buy a few steaks. And these are things that you really just do not need that much of. So pay attention to this chart and follow it if you can, because it's a much healthier diet, better in the long run. When you're looking at carbohydrates and their sources, most all this comes from plants. We call it fiber in biology. That is cellulose. This is the cell walls of plants. But basically, you can't break this stuff down. Now, really, all it is glucose stuck to glucose stuck to glucose trillions of times. But there's a difference in shape. Every other glucose is flipped upside down, so cellulose is indigestible and just passes straight through. So if you go home and eat a can of corn, it will come out corn. It's all cellulose, which we call fiber, or mostly cellulose. Exceptions to these complex carbs, lactose, some of these simple disaccharides like milk, sugar, glycogens that we get from storages in meat. Lipids are mostly animal products. You get unsaturated fats from nuts, seeds, vegetable oils. These are liquid at room temperature. They have a differing number of double bonds. So if it's liquid at room temperature, this is considered a healthy fat, an unsaturated one. If it's solid at room temperature, it's saturated, and that's like cooking with Crisco. Crisco is solid at room temperature, or the marbling you see in a steak. Cholesterol is another type of lipid that can be converted into steroid hormones. It's a component of cell membranes. And lipids, don't knock them. They're useful in the body. But sources, animal products, nuts, seeds, some vegetables. Proteins come from just about everywhere, but animal products are the main source. So like chicken, steak, fish. You can get a healthy protein diet from the legumes, especially in the beans. Now, most beans are not complete proteins. They're incomplete. So what you're looking at from incomplete compared to complete here, complete proteins have all the essential amino acids, all 20. Incomplete proteins may be missing some. So you might have to mix and match what you eat here if you're a vegetarian to come up with a complete set of proteins for the day, or a complete set of amino acids. There's also protein supplement drinks, amino acid pills. Vitamins, fat soluble or water soluble. Most vitamins are used as cofactors that act with enzymes. So basically a vitamin helps an enzyme function better or do its job. And they are involved in many, many, many things. And B vitamins nowadays are water soluble. They're pretty famous anyway nowadays for being in energy drinks, like a 5-hour energy monster or something like that. Basically, you're loaded with B vitamins because we know they work as cofactors with the enzymes that run cell respiration. That's where we make all our ATP. That's the chemical energy of life. So if everything's running perfectly, you make more energy that way. So a little shot of B vitamins and you get a little boost of energy. Pretty much found in every major food group. Fruits, veggies, great places, but you can find it pretty much everywhere. Minerals come in most every major food group as well. You see some, but vegetables and fruits, you always see lots of these. Quite a few in meats. Calcium, pretty famous in milk. Major mineral in our body. This is just one example. This is stored in our bones. It's used in muscle contraction to release neurotransmitters. This is a huge player in our body. Magnesium, the ATP cycle, cell respiration, major player. And the number one chemical energy in our body is called adenosine triphosphate. So phosphate groups also major players. So minerals may not be needed in as high amounts, but we can't knock their role in the body because they can play a variety of very specific and very important roles. We look at our carbohydrates. We got a recommended daily allowance somewhere in this range, up to 175 grams. This should be close to 70% of your diet. You know, as high as that. 45 to 65 is pretty normal. You're going to need these carbs to build a lot of things. The backbone of DNA is made of a sugar called deoxyribose. RNA is made of a sugar called ribose. Those are the two most important molecules in your body. Without DNA and RNA, there is nothing as far as proteins, since they have the code for it. DNA does. Carbohydrates are our main energy source. That's your main function right there. If you eat carbs, you're using them to make ATP. Now, if you eat in excess of carbs, what can your body do? Convert it to fats, store it for a rainy day fund. Glycogen is a short-term storage. You know, this is something if you exercise for an hour or so, you're going to tap into these storages, and it's there for a fast energy, and you want to tap into this. Now, carbohydrate metabolism as a whole gets pretty complex. This is just to show you we don't go as far as we could. If you take something like you just ate some starch, so let's say you went to Capezi's across the street from PJC, you loaded up on starch. Well, you can take that starch in your body and enzymatically digest it into many things. You can go into glucose, then glucose 6-phosphate, then fructose 6-phosphate, glycerolaldehyde 3-phosphate, and through 10 enzyme-assisted steps, you can ultimately start off your Krebs cycle and then run the ETC and make a bunch of ATP. But as you can see, this can be turned into many different things. Fructose 6 can go down here to chitin. This is the building block of the exoskeleton of insects. It's also used in surgical thread. That dissolvable thread, that's chitin. You can take it and go lots of different directions. Glucose can be turned into many different things. You see glycerolaldehyde go into a tyrosine pathway here, turning into amino acid tryptophan. You can also see these being turned into energy molecules or building blocks for like DNA, ATP, these different things that will build DNA, adenine, guanine, cytosine, those guys. You can also see it coming down this direction being converted into lactic acid. It's not broken down properly. This would be an anaerobic pathway. And the lactic acid for us would build up, lactate, lactic acid, same thing, and make us sore and also cause us to get tired. So it gets pretty complicated. So we don't go into as much detail as we could. Lipids can be broken down into many different things as well. Recommended daily allowance is far less. You know, we make energy sources from these. This is basically a fuel source that's stored energy. So this is energy that's stored. Rainy day fund. This would be energy source number 2. If you broke down all your carbs to make ATP, lipids are next. Atkins diet's based off that. If you can cut carbs out, what do you burn? You burn fat, which is lipids. This is based in biochemistry. 30% or less of the diet, 10% for saturated fats. You really got to watch those. So that, you know, red meat and cooking everything in Crisco, not so good. This is leading to heart attacks down the road. Phospholipids, building blocks of cell membranes. Lipoproteins, pretty famous. Cholesterol, steroid hormones. This is also a building block in the cell membrane. This is like pretty powerful hormones here. Testosterone, estrogen, both based in cholesterol, steroid hormones. So lipids do a lot of things, from making hormones to building cell membranes to being energy sources. So there's a lot of functions here. Just don't need a whole lot of them. A lot of this can be engineered within the body. Like most all your cholesterol can just be made from other sources. Remember, everything is CHON. Proteins are what we need the most of. About a gram, 0.8 grams per kilogram of body weight. There are 2.2 pounds in 1 kilogram. So basically take your weight, divide by 2.2, and that's about how many grams you need a day for protein. Proteins we want to use to build things. All right. Enzymes, hormones, hemoglobin. You know, this transports oxygen. This thing is hemoglobin, 574 amino acids long. So every time in your body you need to build a hemoglobin protein, a single one, you need 574 different amino acids. There are 280 million hemoglobin proteins on every single red blood cell in your body, which number in the trillions. So you need a lot of these proteins to break them down into amino acids to build hemoglobin and collagen and antibodies. B cells produce antibodies, major defensive part of your body, immune system. You got to have proteins. Amino acids are the building blocks of life. DNA codes for proteins. Proteins do everything. So I don't want to burn these, but they can be converted and can be burned, oxidized for energy, if you have an excess. Got plenty of proteins, you can burn them. This is an amino acid profile showing you that not everything has the right profile, and especially if you're a vegetarian, you need to pick and choose what you eat. And that's the basics of carbs, lipids, and proteins. We'll begin the next lecture with fat-soluble, water-soluble vitamins, and minerals.